My name is Farah June, and welcome to the all-new show, Fahrenheit TV. So excited to be back for season 5 of our show. And this year, we're going to do things a little differently. Fahrenheit TV. Since 2014, we've been putting people in the spotlight who live in their greatness. Whether they're expressing themselves through their art, their activism, or their work, we're inspired by those who choose to live audaciously. Season 5 is here, and although we're temporarily out of the TV studio, we're committed to continue to bring you stories that will uplift your soul. Catch all of our new monthly episodes right here on our YouTube channel. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fahrenheit TV. I hope you're having a great start to your summer and a peaceful evening. Today I am so excited to have another brilliant and talented artist on our virtual platform, Mr. Steve Chandy. Welcome to the platform. Yo, Steve is so incredible. He is a singer, songwriter. He plays the guitar. He's a music teacher. I mean, I could go on and on. He has greatness within his DNA. And this year, he is performing for BAM's Fest Amplify the Soul music series, which is happening now through August 8th. So I hope you've been tuning in because every week we've just been inspired by all of these amazing artists. And today we get to have one of them on our platform. So Steve, thank you so much for being here and for, being able to share your time and your greatness with us. So before we get into learning about, your musical journey, I wanted to just check in with you and see like how you're doing, especially with this, ongoing pandemic. How have you been able to, find peace during these days?
Oh, that's a good question. It's been hard. 2020 has been a hard year for many people, except for a few billionaires.
Yeah.
But I mean, we when the pandemic first started, our landlord tried to evict us
Oh my God.
because,
Oh,
yeah, because they were afraid. It was a board of people, and they were afraid of the infection spreading through the apartment. So they were like, "What better way than to evict people?"
that doesn't make any sense though. What? So yeah, just like we'll
Uh,
just all be homeless, and I guess nobody will catch the disease then. Wow, that's
it
insane.
was Yeah, so it just started off like on a bad foot, like just
Yeah.
feeling not secure, in home, in living space, in finances, in
Yeah.
a lot of different ways. We were kind of beaten down. Like my partner actually is a therapist, and
Oh
so
wow.
uh,
I mean,
during
thank
that
God for
time.
that, but that must be super tough too, because she has to deal with this and also try to, make sure you're good and everything too.
Exactly, yeah. So it was a lot. Like all my classes had to transition online, and throughout that, the way that I've been able to um, keep kind of like a semblance, a resemblance of peace
Mm-hmm.
is just relying on my relationship. So like relying on my partner. Like we take turns being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen that way, but
Yeah.
like sometimes it's me just crying and weeping and her holding me, or sometimes it's her.
Mhm.
So we took turns comforting each other and holding each other and having space for each other. Um, and and I also relied on a community and knowing that I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
So one of the songs that I wrote during the pandemic was called Body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's a song about me and my trauma response is like getting out of my body and kind of being disconnected with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so through therapy I learned how to like stay in my body and
Yeah.
not just like detach.
Yeah. It's
And
easy for us to do that. I think that's just a way for us to protect ourselves, a way to just kind of detach and be
yes,
like, I can't deal with this right now. Yeah.
exactly. And so like during the pandemic, that used to be my way of getting peace,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
I could kind of detach and like people would be like, wow, like this is really traumatic. How are you not responding? And for me, I'm just like, I don't even know that it's happening to me. It's
Yeah.
just,
You're doing it for your survival. It's just like
yeah,
a intimate response. I understand.
exactly, exactly. And so what I ended up doing like this time around through therapy was to recognize that and to hone in my coping skill to like include that I'm not doing this by my own self,
Mhm,
that
mhm,
I can rely on a community. And so that's been the way that I've been able to maintain peace during this time, was just to have that in mind, that I'm not by myself. I have a community to hold on to,
mhm.
and that yeah, this is not something that I have to go at alone.
Needs to know what it means to feel and not be afraid. I'm not afraid now. I'm not I need to live more than survive. Come back again to my body, body, body.
Feel like the pandemic, it taught us like there's so many things we couldn't control during that time. There was like so many, especially like with that, like, oh, you could be evicted. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? And then you, like you said, job, finances, all sorts of stuff that you can't control per se during a time that's really scary in the world. And I think it was amazing to see how like last year, so many people kind of found out who was really truly for them in their circle, who truly loved them and supported them during that time. And I'm so happy that you're with someone that truly loves you and supports you, not just because she's your partner, but also because she wants to see your growth. And you guys were there to support each other. I think that's phenomenal. Because if it wasn't, then it would have been an even more terrible experience. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you were both able to find resiliency during that time. And thank you for sharing that, too, that you went to therapy and all this other stuff happening as well, because I think we need to hear, especially men, have these conversations, just to make peace with yourself. So that's so
Shout
important.
out to therapists, right? Like during this time, oh my goodness.
I
Thank you,
know.
thank you, thank you. Like, can we like as a community kind of like send like a thank you letter and just sign our names on a
Seriously.
card? You
Yeah,
know?
we need to give our therapists a lot of love because they hold in so
Yes.
much for us. So sending all the therapists out there so much love and support.
Yeah. We do this thing called amor, 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 amor. That's I want to just like amor, 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 amor,
Like
amor.
that.
Give
Amor,
them love.
amor, amor, amor. I love that. So, Steve, we're gonna jump right into your musical journey. When did you first fall in love with music? Because I know that you traditionally, like, you grew up in India and then you moved to the States, and then so
Yeah.
you've been around. So I'm pretty sure that you've had so many influences of music. So when did you first have a love for music, and then when did you discover, like, hey, I think I want to be a musician myself?
Yeah, I mean that I was born in Bahrain Bahrain. It's in the Middle East. It's a small island, and I
Mhm.
was born to two Malu Indian Pentecostal missionary pastors.
Oh wow. Oh my God.
And so like church was like alive. Like
Yeah.
it
That was
was.
everywhere in your in your world.
And
Yeah.
so like my mom was constantly singing. There was music all throughout the church. Like we had overnight prayer meetings that would just like you can just hear the drums of boom 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 clapping and tambourines. And
Mhm.
so as a kid, like I always felt like I could sing very loud and like open in
Mhm.
these spaces. And I was just surrounded by music in that realm. Like it was music and spirituality were like interconnected from a very young age.
Yeah.
And so when I moved to India, my parents got their visa approved to come to the US,
Mhm.
and it was supposed to be a month or two that I was going to be in India at a boarding school, and then I was going to get my visa and then come to the US and join my parents.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the U.S. government didn't think that a 10-year-old should be with your parents. I don't know what happened, but
Uh,
they rejected my visa application 2 times, and so I ended
you were
up
in India by yourself at boarding school?
at boarding school for 3 years. My brother was there in that same boarding school as well. He's 6 years older than me,
Mhm.
and he was there a year after that I was there.
Okay.
So I was there for 3 years. Went through a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Just a quick um you know I don't know, a trigger warning.
Yeah, yeah.
This is like a mental health like conversation that we're gonna have, but
Mhm.
yeah, so during that time I went through like physical abuse and sexual abuse, and went through suicidal ideation,
Oh.
and the way that it connects, and the question you asked was like, how did you know that you loved music,
Mhm.
is because it was during that time where I was on the rooftop of my we call it a terrace of my school,
Mhm.
and I had all these thoughts, uh, and I was just like, you can't even do this thing right, was one of these thoughts, and I just started sobbing,
Mhm.
and I could hear a melody in the sobs,
Wow.
and I heard the melody, and I was like, oh, that's a good melody, and I put lyrics to that melody, and then
Wow.
I was like, oh, that's really cool, and I
Mhm.
started writing songs up on that roof.
Wow. Do you
And
remember how
so
old you were doing
I
that?
was I was 11 years old, 10 years old. I had like this red book that was like covered in songs. Like one of these songs were like, I want to be free like a bird, want to be free like the clouds, want to be free like the angels flying around. I want to be free to heaven to see my master's face. And when I get there, he will wipe my tears away. Just so you know, like I grew up in a very colonized Christianity.
No, that was beautiful. I'm here
Yeah,
for it.
but yeah, it was that, like it like in the beginning it was just like this pain, like I want to be free, I want to be, I want to be free.
Yes.
And the ending where like I get to heaven and God like wipes my tears away,
Mhm.
that was kind of like how the natural ending rhyme sound happens, right?
Yes. Mhm.
And so it wasn't something that I had like thought about and wrote out. It just automatically like, oh, that's how it,
I'm here.
yeah, and it healed me.
Yes.
So that's how I found out that music was something that was for myself first, that
Wow.
healed me at that moment, and that gave me comfort when nobody else was there. Like it was connected to that spirituality element. And so
Do you feel
yeah,
like God was speaking to you in that moment? Because I feel like when you're, even when I'm listening to the song, you're like, I'll get there and then God will wipe my tears away. And I'm like, He's like, God's doing that right now. Like at this
yes,
moment, God is like, I'm giving you the melody. I'm here. Like, that's just so beautiful and like mind blowing to me. Like, okay, there is a higher power because literally at that moment, it gave you like the answer.
exactly, yeah, it was so powerful for me, and I never thought I was going to sing any of these songs for anybody, because
Mhm.
it was just like so it was so emotion driven, it was so like from the heart. And I didn't think there was space for that type of songs.
Mhm.
um but one of my friends actually heard me singing and was just like, dude, there's this talent show. And then I sang it for a talent show, and that's how it ended up. Like after I wrote like 40, 50 songs,
Yeah.
like I sang it for the first time at a talent show, and then that's history. And like
Oh
I've
my
been singing ever
gosh.
since. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was like your first audience, basically.
Yes,
Were you
yes, it
scared?
was.
Like, were you just like, because it's different when you're writing songs to yourself and you're like, oh, this is incredible. Like, I'm feeling it. It's basically like music is your therapy. But to
Mhm.
share that with an audience, whether they're big or a small audience, it's a different level. So, were you like, do you remember being scared at that time? Or were you just like, I'm just going to express myself because that's just who I
But butterflies. Forget butterflies, dragons like in my belly just
am?
like,
Dragon.
get out of here. Like it was scary. I mean, I grew up believing that songs had to be like Christian. So it
Mhm,
had to be like, Jesus, I love you and you're the best thing for me.
mhm,
Or it had to be like of the world.
mhm.
And most of the worldly songs was about love affairs gone wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
And
People
like
love that type of drama.
it was like either or, like either
Yeah.
Bon Jovi that or like these worship songs. And like here I am in the middle, like, and I'm singing about like my pain and trauma. And so singing that when I didn't really have
Anything
anything
else?
else, like it was scary,
Yeah.
but it worked. And I feel like people like just like vibed with the melody and vibed with the rhythm.
Yeah,
And
but they
I
also
got
vibe with you. They also, you had to give yourself credit. Yeah, you know, the melody and everything that
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
anybody can duplicate that, but that really comes from the person. Like if you connect with the person, especially
Mhm.
what they're saying, I think like I agree with you. You know, music is kind of either or, but I think the songs that people always remember, like you could hear this song 10 years later and you still remember every lyric, is the ones that speak to your heart the most. And a lot of times it's the songs that have painful, you know, history in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you for, you know, for continuing that journey, because you could have just kept it to yourself. I'm glad that you weren't selfish and you decided to share that with the world. That's incredible. And thank you, by the
Mhm.
way, for sharing that story with us. I'm
Perfect.
really happy that it seems like you're in a more healed place. So I hope that in your continuing
Yeah.
to heal. So I'm sending you a lot of love and peace, because I know that's not easy. Yeah, bura 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 to go through. So yeah, just send you all of that. Sending you all of that.
I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? And it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift. The baffled king composing hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. And hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. And hallelujah.
When you finally moved to the States, how was that transition? Did you get any culture shock? Like, do you remember how old you are at this time?
I was like around 14,
Oh,
came into
teenager.
middle school. Yeah, like 13, 13 and a half somewhere. So like I came in like the end of seventh grade
Okay.
and then went to eighth grade. And it
Ooh,
was
middle school could be brutal.
it
Ooh,
was
no.
huge. It was a huge culture.
No.
All these kids had been together since they were in preschool, and I'm like coming in with my Indian accent, and they were just like, the teachers are like, this kid doesn't know, this kid's not intelligent because he doesn't speak English that in a way that we can understand him.
Mhm.
So they put me in an ESOL class, and I they put a picture of an elephant or some animal, and then had us write down the animal
No.
like over and over again. And I loved it. Like I went from like India where like all these lessons are so hard and I'm like failing every time, and I'm like now writing down elephant over and over again, and I get to like talk to all these kids who came from all across the world,
Oh,
and we're
okay.
just talking about each other and talking to each other and like finding out where. So I came home and I'm like, Mom, school in the U.S. is so easy. And my mom was so pissed. She
Yeah.
called them the next day. I got called to the principal's office, and the principal, one of the persons was just like holding the phone like this far away from their
But your
ear,
mom is going off.
off, yeah. And they're just like, and I could hear my mom yelling at them, is like, does your mom and they asked me, does your mom speak English? Can you talk to her?
Oh, are you serious?
And
That's so
yeah, yeah.
disrespectful.
And I was just like, oh, she's a dean of a college here. And then they were just like, oh, okay, yes, ma'am, okay, ma'am. That day I got placed into advanced English.
Wow. All of that.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
of
yeah.
that to go through.
All of that to go through. I got placed in advanced English. I aced it. Thank you,
There
Miss.
you
I think her
go.
name was like Mrs.
Okay.
Lee. I don't remember, but yeah, culture shock, like all the things that, um, yeah. Thank you, strong mom, like
Yes, thank
fighting in my
you.
corner.
I know. But it's insane that had to, you know, you had to give titles and see what she and say what she does,
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
kind of prove your intelligence and, you know, your reasoning to be there. Like that's insane to me. But and
yeah.
you know, for you to be forgiving to just become a teacher yourself, like because you could have been like, oh, this experience is terrible. I don't want to do nothing with the American educational system, but you still decided to be a teacher. So I think that's dope. Wow.
Hey.
So how was it growing up, in Philadelphia and being surrounded by like the music scene, because you have described it as the place that kind of really encouraged you to grow in your artistry, and also where you discovered your love for soul music. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, yes. I could talk all day about Philly and the music scene there. It is amazing. Like you had studios there. A lot of people do session work in Philly.
Mhm.
So you have a lot of, you know, when you go to a club, there's like live music
Mhm.
and the,
Yeah.
and like people coming up on the stage shredding. Like, um, a lot of my influences in Philly had been like musicians who became friends with me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
You kind
and
of vibe off each other. Yeah.
yeah. Like um, Christopher K.P. Brown, he has this poetry circle in North Philly. Is it in North Philly? I forget, but um, it's called a Poets Gallery,
Hmm.
and it's beautiful. It's and there are all these poets and like concepts that I never heard of, and ideas. Like I got introduced to womanist uh, theory there. Like I got introduced to like black culture and like concepts that were like decolonizing my like spirituality, like
Hmm.
all of those things. Like, and it was just poets just like expressing themselves, and I'm in the back going like.
Just in awe, like
I'm
wow.
just like, I'm just like
Mind blown,
washing over
literally.
me, just like,
Yes. That
and
must
so
have been like that just must have felt so good because you already have that spiritual past and everything with like
yeah.
your parents. So for you to like see it, in a whole different side of the world and how they, take that in, that must have been like amazing.
And yeah, and it was the space that, like in my middle school, my high school, like I was an Indian kid,
Hmm.
but in that space they didn't see me as an other, they didn't see me as someone coming in from the outside. They just pulled me in. Like I had a friend of mine there, he passed away unfortunately, but his name was Justin Graham, and he was an uh, incredible artist, musician. And there was a day that he was giving me a ride from an open mic, and we just sat in the car for an hour after he rang a singing bell,
Hmm.
and we just sat together meditating.
Wow.
um, that's how we ended that night. And I just remember like so much in Philly, like where you just connected with not just people's music but their stories and
Hmm.
energies. And that's where I learned how to like, yeah, where my music was kind of like shaped
Hmm.
to,
I
yeah,
love that.
because I was already kind of belting
Hmm.
things out because that's the way that I sang. I was just like, ah,
Yeah. Well,
and
that I
then
mean, when you're in church, that's how you belt. You just belt it out. You know what I mean? So
belt
it
it
makes
out.
sense. Yeah.
And then I learned how like style and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like style and how to like put that energy into a song form that people can resonate with.
Hmm.
And yeah, thank you, Philly.
That's awesome. I just want to ask one more question about Philly is do you remember when you got back on the stage again? Because from this time, I mean, you did the talent
Mm.
show when you were, in the boarding school in India, but then when you came back to States, do you remember when you were like, I'm going to take on the American stage? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah. I was just doing open mics everywhere.
Wow.
I actually like I was doing first churches,
Mhm.
stages on church, like just worship music everywhere, just doing a circuit of VBS, like Vacation Bible School, just going to different places and singing for kids.
Yeah.
Um, and and we were incorporating like um, Backstreet Boys inside.
Oh, I love Backstreet Boys, so there's
Yeah,
no shame there. I'm like, which
we
song?
would. Cause my love is all I have
Had to
to give.
be
You know what I'm talking about? So
something
like,
wild. I'm gonna let you sing, but I'll be your backup dancer.
and like we would incorporate it with worship music.
Wow, that's
We
so
would incorporate
cool.
like Michael Jackson with "I'm Trading My Sorrows." That's a Israel Houghton song, and
Yeah.
then we would like transition with the Michael Jackson like. Like
I
it
would have
was
been
just
in church all the time if you did that. I love Michael. I would be like, listen, I want to be here all the time. It's
so that's
literally you're doing concerts at this point.
basic. Yeah. It was a lot of. We did Maybach curtains once in church.
Really?
But at a point, our youth pastor came and told us to chill.
Yeah.
But, uh, but it was just that I started there and then open mics in Philly at this place called The Fire, World Cafe Live,
Mhm.
different places there, and after that I started auditioning for American Idol, for The Voice, for the Apollo. Yeah, I got into a couple stages through like the initial, and then they were just like, you're not an American Idol type, you're not The Voice type. And so
Mhm.
by the time I was auditioning for the Apollo, I was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna get in. Like, and then they were like, you're our type, and I was like,
Listen, that performance of Crazy, I was like, listen, I would have been, and I love that too, because I feel like when you are on the stage, you connect with your audience. Either, you're like telling them like sing back to you and they're singing back to you, or
yeah,
it's like even I seen videos when you're doing like intimate, just when it's just you and the guitar, and I'm not in the room, but I feel like I'm in the room. Like it's almost like I'm like connecting, like, yo, this is mad deep. Like I just want to tell somebody all of my sorrows and my emotions and stuff. Like I feel like you really have that natural energy in you. So like, oh my gosh, like how did that feel real quick? How did that feel to be on the Apollo stage? Like you are so courageous, by the way. It's to go to The Voice, to the American Idol, like all those rejections. Some people can't take it. So for you to keep on going, I think that's so commendable.
I mean, the reason why I was able to take it is because I kept seeing incredibly talented people getting rejected from American Idol and The
Yeah.
Voice. And I was just like, wait, if you're going to reject him,
Mm-hmm.
is one of the best, I I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm hurt that you just said no to that person,
Yeah.
like, so I just kept seeing it, and unfortunately it just kept on being black and brown people
Yeah.
because
They
they
like
didn't.
they have a certain box of who they
Yeah,
want to be. So
exactly. You had to look the part, and like a 5'3" Indian dude wasn't gonna cut it, for at that point.
yeah, at that point, but this it's gonna be incredible when you get to the E series, like Entertainment Tonight's gonna be like, one time he auditioned for this and look at him now, so
No,
it's gonna be better for the story, you know what I'm saying? So good,
I'm
though.
happy where I'm at. I'm
Yeah.
happy where I'm at. I'm happy. Yeah, teaching my kids, doing songs that resonate with people, and yeah, it was just wild. Like being on stage on the Apollo, seeing the little wood trunk that people like touched before they went up on stage,
Yeah, so many people have touched that.
and so
Oh
like
God.
getting to touch the same thing that all these legends have like, and being on that stage and even having one person in the middle of the audience going boo boo, and like I was just like, I'm having the full experience.
You are. It's only one boo. Because I was gonna ask you, I was like, did they have somebody boo you out? But you can hear from the video that everybody was gigging to it. That
Yeah,
one
they
person's
were
a
loving
hater.
they were loving it. You know what, I wasn't thrown. It's very interesting. It's, I don't know how other artists feel about this, but like when there's somebody on their phone not paying attention or booing, you all of a sudden like you're like, you put on your superhero costume in a way,
Yeah.
like you just want to reach them,
Yeah.
and
You're
it's
like,
like,
I'm gonna make you love me.
I'm gonna so like,
Yeah.
I've got you, like, and so yeah, it was a surreal experience. Actually my wife proposed to me after I proposed to her,
Oh my
it,
God. Yes.
right before
Yes.
the show too.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just a beautiful
You
experience.
said right before the show?
Right before the show, yeah, she just got a ring from one of the merchants out there. It was like this $5 metal ring, and then she got on one knee and yeah,
My God. She's a queen. I love that. She said,
yeah.
I'm gonna put a ring on it. And you said, oh, for real? I'm about to show this audience that I'm about to be a married man. You're gonna love this song. So, like I said, you're no stranger to the stage. And this year you got to participate in BAM's Fest, Amplify the Soul music series. I've been tuning in every Friday since it first launched. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just inspired, and it feels almost like refreshing to me again because I live for concerts and I used to love going to, live performances, even if it's not at a big, venue and stuff, but just seeing like familiar faces of artists doing their thing on the stage. And I felt like when I was tuning in, I kind of got that experience again, even if it's virtual. And I was just like, it's so refreshing to me. So to be a part of that, how did that feel to be part of like BAM's Fest music series this summer?
I'm still like what? The first thing I did was to get some of my favorite artists. Actually, Chris Walton was supposed to perform on that stage, and then the whole thing got delayed.
Mhm.
Um, so I was just like, please be on my set. I just like reached out to my favorite artists, and I was just like, can you please be on my set? And so like they're all like playing bass, drums, guitar, and feeling supported by them, like it was, and then being up on that stage, it was so surreal. It was amazing.
Oh my
And
gosh.
Amplify the Soul, like that's the thing, like BAMS Fest gives space to people to perform music that, like, where else can you hear music about like people's mental health, about
Exactly.
like yeah, their community, or like the real stuff, like. And
Yes.
yeah, and Amplify the Soul was that space, and they gave me a platform and a space, and I'm so thankful to them. I'm so grateful.
Yes, and I'm so grateful to them as well because there's a lot of artists that I didn't know about. Like I didn't know about your greatness until, BAM's Fest put as they put the whole lineup of all the artists and I'm like, yo, this is so dope just to see, other talent in the city. And especially because I was, raised here in Boston and usually Boston's not really known for like having, a good music scene or like the arts or anything. So I'm always like, no, there's so many talented people here. You
Yes.
gotta come and see them. And so this music series is just amazing. Like, was it weird at all for you at all to like kind of be in the space with artists again? Because for so long we were in quarantine. So that was like, all right, come back. Were you like a little anxious or were you just more like, yeah, let's go, let's go?
Yeah, I mean, they kept everybody safe. Like Amplify the Soul, as soon as you got in, they were like checking your temperature. They were like, uh, got your tests 48 hours before, keeping space. Like the whole thing is like virtual because they like took all these steps.
Mm-hmm.
And like other venues and other like organizations were like, we'll just wait till the pandemic is over, which is not a thing. um and
Exactly.
BAMS Fest was just like, wait, you know what, let's adapt. And I'm like you can tell that the people who run BAMS Fest are resilient because they looked at something and said, let's find a way.
Yes.
And yeah, it was surreal being around artists and being on a stage and being like it's they have like this light guy. It's
Yeah.
so wild. Like for like 15 minutes he's like finding the right hue behind you. I'm
Yeah.
like, but the level of detail that's put into every single one of these concerts is wild. Like
Yes.
the videographers to the sound engineers, like every single thing. Like I was just like, I kept going, man, you're pro, huh?
Yes. Because they
They
want
were,
to make sure you look good. Like I remember Cat Morris saying like, excellence is like what they strive for all the time. So making sure that you have the right hue, especially on like brown skin, you know what I mean? It's like thank you for really wanting to make sure that I look even better on the stage. Like that's love. That's dedication.
it is. I Bams Fest, love you. You're incredible.
Yes. And
Yeah,
so
'cause
can you tell our audience why they should tune in? Because your set is coming up this month on July
July
16th.
16th.
Yeah, July 16th on a Friday. It's coming up. So why should people, tune in? I mean, I've been telling people it's awesome, but hearing it
Yeah.
from the artist himself, why should people tune into this series?
All right. First off, tune in every Friday.
Yes.
Secondly, y'all, like the set that it's my first set after a year and a half.
Wow.
Like, I put everything, like I was just like going up there and going, like full like being and body into it. So that's what you're gonna that's what you're gonna get. Like it's going to be, um you're gonna see musicians and artists sharing their love, and they're their gift in the most unfettered way,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
free, just
Sweet.
wild,
That word.
raw,
Yes.
like,
In your face, live.
yes, in your face, live, tune in.
Yes.
Yes, so that's why just tune in. It's amazing. And outside of that, also like you'll be part of a community. Like
Yes.
BAM is really about building community. So like you can actually reach out to the artists. You can actually like these are people. These are not like these are people who are local, people who you can reach out and like see
Yeah.
and just have a relationship with,
And
and
connect with
communities that you can be part of. Yeah,
us.
there's so yes, yes, tune in, be part of the community, and yeah.
Ah, that was beautifully said. And I think like one of the many superpowers that artists have, like you have, is you're able to kind of channel in all of these emotions and feelings that might be odd or feel uncomfortable for us to kind of for many people to express, but you do it in such a unique arty way. Like I don't know how to say that, but you know what I mean? Like I feel like I know that when I see your performance and the performances that I've seen in the past, that like you could tell people were like, we've been in quarantine for so long and I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say. And they express that so boldly on stage that
Mm,
that's why I said it feels so refreshing because I feel like they're expressing what I can't express. You know what I mean? Like what I can't say. I'm like, yes, like that's how I feel. Like, you know what I mean?
mm,
So I can't wait to tune into your performance. I know it's going to be super dope. And I know that also like earlier this year, you actually, released a song called Resilient Child, which I love. And I really, like I told you, connected with you. I really feel like I connect with the song because I almost feel like it's almost like an older version of myself telling me like you're a resilient child. But then I also feel like I'm like, is this person like talking to someone else? Like, it's just so many different ways. I'm like, for you as a teacher, are you talking to your students? Are you talking to the little boy, that you used to be? Like, you're a resilient child. Like, I know so many deep things. I was thinking mad
that's
deep about
it.
this, but I'm like,
That's it. You're right. You're totally right. That's what it was. Like when I ding 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 ding. No, it was exactly that. When I was a kid,
mhm,
during that time, like I would use my imagination, and it felt so real.
yeah,
Like I had this imagination, and this is something that I kept going back to was I would imagine myself because the boarding school, like the doors would be locked, like padlocked,
oh
and
wow.
then there are these bars. So
Oh, not the bars.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was just like, and we called the people who took care of us wardens. I
Oh,
don't know.
this
It
is
just, it
kind of
just,
like a prison.
it
Yeah,
just, yeah, right.
yeah.
The
I'm
verbiage kind
sorry.
of is there, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just imagine myself slipping through those metal doors, going through the metal bars, sitting on a concrete like slope thing, and this older man would come and sit next to me
Mhm.
and would sing me Starlight Starbright, and would sing a song with Starlight Starbright, every star I see tonight, something, and then I would fall asleep.
Wow,
And I
like a
kept
lullaby.
doing, yeah, and
Mhm.
I would keep going back to this imagination so much so that I felt like it was a completely real thing. So I
Mhm.
asked my brother, I was just like, was this old man there? Like, I was just like,
Yeah, just to confirm, am
"Huh?"
I thinking things? Yeah.
And like, and I realized like that was how my child self like survived and stayed, like that was my resiliency. And so that's what I put into the song. And I kind of imagine myself uh being that older man that sat next to the child self and just sang
Oh,
myself to sleep. So like it was, yeah, it was powerful.
Stood up tall with your feet firm to the ground. Face your demons. Evil couldn't bring you down. Resilient child, mama. You'd be proud to see your baby withstand and walk, braving stormy nights and dark clouds. Nobody like you, child.
Writing that song was very, very powerful for me because it was healing, it was acknowledgement to my child self,
mhm.
saying, yes, you went through a lot of harm. You deserve comfort, you deserve like love, and you deserve to get some rest, you
Yes.
know. Just
Mhm.
telling my inner, child, just like,
I'm here.
yeah,
I'm proud of you. You did
I'm-
well. Like you survived.
exactly,
And you're
yeah.
thriving now, which is I think the ultimate goal, right? Like even if you go through some things, like you're thriving, that
Mhm.
means you are resilient. And I think also it's a song that's needed to be heard, especially during this time, because the pandemic affected people in so many different ways, that if
Mhm.
you're alive right now, if you are alive right now, you are resilient. You have
Yeah.
made it through so much. So thank you for writing that song. And please, 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 everybody support him in the song, in the campaign. Stream it
Listen
on
to the song.
Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube. Please, please, please support. Has it been difficult, like kind of navigating this new normal as an artist? And like, you know, if do you have any advice for anybody else that, struggling to kind of find their way back into, the scene as a
Yeah,
musician, an artist or anything?
I just talked to somebody who went through the asylum seeking process, and we were just talking about this and how rest and getting your energy back,
Mm-hmm.
that always on paper it looks like you're doing nothing,
Yeah.
and it feels like, what have I done with my life? I don't like, I haven't, I don't know, put payments to a new car, or I'm not going moving up in the world, like all this like capitalist thinking of like I'm not productive, all this stuff.
Mhm.
It's like, you just you we've just went through a pandemic, you went through a lot of trauma,
Yeah.
you deserve rest, and you deserve like to heal,
Right.
like, because if you run on a broken leg, like, it's not going to heal correctly, and you're going to have that pain that's just constant, and it's going to be harder to do the things that you want to do.
Mhm.
Like, look at where you're at right now, and take stock at the healing that you've already been going through, and the rest that you've taken. Like, look at that as a, and put it on paper, like fill
Yeah.
that paper up with those things. That's what I would tell all artists. Like, I wouldn't say like go like be the next thing. I would be like, no, just like take stock of all the things you've done to
Yeah.
heal. And second, like reach out to community that, and like a support system, and if you don't have community and a support system, which I didn't when I first came to Boston, because I went to like places where they were just like, no spoken word, but poetry's okay. No
Yeah.
rap music, but country's okay. Like, it was just like, read between the lines type of thing. And
Yeah.
at one of these, they were just like, why are you singing US music? You should be singing Indian music.
No, they're trying
Like
to
I,
box you in. No,
they try to
none of
box me in. Like, so like, find community that's going to be supportive and that's not toxic. And
that.
if
Yes.
you can't find it, like, um, BAMS Fest, like there are artists, and each of them, all these artists have spaces that they've cultivated
Hmm.
and spaces that they're part of that you can also be part of.
Yes.
Like, I'm thinking about like spaces like Energy. I don't know if you guys know, like they're incredible, like a queer, brown, black space. Like, it's like there are so many different spaces that, like, if you feel it, you can speak it. Is
Yes, I
there?
love them
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. So like there's community that's there, that's waiting for you.
Hmm.
They're just like, where, I don't know, where are you?
Yeah,
Come.
exactly.
They're just like
Be
waiting.
part of
There's a hole in that community, and
us. Hmm.
they're waiting for you to take up that space. So that's the second thing that I would say.
I love
So yeah,
that.
those are the two things. That's my advice.
Thank you for that advice. I feel like I really resonate with that because I last year, like being able to take that break, even though I was like really concerned about finances, I was like, man, I didn't realize how tired I was. I was exhausted. Like I was doing way too much all the time that it was just like part of my normal routine. That having the time off just to sleep a full 8 hours without having to be like, okay, well, what do I gotta do next? Just felt so good. And I think as artists, like you said, rest is so important. There's a social media account called the Nap Ministry that I've been following, that promote it literally promotes people taking naps, and it tells you, how capitalism is always making us like work and do all these extreme things,
Yeah.
and like we don't really get to live and thrive because we're always just on the go. So I'm so happy that you told people that, especially because this month of July is National Minority Mental Health Month. So I
Mhm.
think people needed to hear that message.
My first thing is just like therapy is so healing, and so if you have access to it, go for it.
Yes, don't be afraid, go for it.
If you do not have access to it, like we need to fight until people have access to it. Like
Yes, we do.
that's something that we have to take that burden on because it's important.
Hmm.
The second thing is like outside of therapy, like I went to my I was like talking to my therapist. I was like, if I go to therapy and fix all these things, then what will I sing about? Like I'll lose part
Wow,
of
that's so
me.
real.
Like,
Because
I
that's
will lose,
like part of what you talk about real things, like you said.
yeah,
Like,
I
wow.
will lose the thing that makes me special. And
Yeah.
like and she said something very powerful, and it was just that me making music and songwriting
Hmm.
was part of the healing that I and the journey of healing that I was already on. And so those were things that I was doing all by myself that were therapeutic.
Yeah.
And then I merged into therapy. So I'm just continuing the journey of my healing into therapy,
Hmm.
into this formalized therapy world. And so to recognize that that's the path that I'm taking. So it's not taking you further away from your artistry and from the things that make you, special.
Hmm.
Um, it's it's the things, those are your coping mechanisms, and those are the things that helped you survive, and therapy is just helping you go that route even further.
Yeah.
And so, and after therapy, I wrote Resilient Child and Body. So, like, those are two things that I wrote after therapy. So, yeah.
I think it's always going to be part of you because, like you said, you're already kind of doing therapeutic things you didn't even realize were like part of your, that journey. And so I feel like it's also going to be good for people to hear that too. Like, yeah, I've been hurt, but now I'm healed and this is what I'm going through. So each journey of your life that you go through, people
Mhm.
are going to be able to connect with it because, like, what do you do when you get to that healing place? Then it's like, okay, what's next? And Steve's going
Yeah.
to tell you in a song what's next. I think it's all gonna flow together. I don't think you'll ever lose that like
Yeah.
that real part of you because it's already, it's part of that whole story, it's part of who you are. And yeah, I think it's dope. So the last question I have for you is the most important question is how can we support you in your growing musical career? Like how can we support you?
Okay. So, the way you can support me is Barefoot Chandy, Barefoot. Chandy, Chandy, Candy with an H. On Instagram, I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. If you look up Steve Chandy, so yeah, just follow my stuff. I'm just starting to record this year. I'm gonna be releasing my first album, and so there's gonna be a
Yes.
lot of works. I know, I'm so excited. There's gonna be a lot of works coming out. Yeah, be connected to me. Like I don't like I'm hoping to build community. I'm really not trying to be like the next J Lo. Although you're amazing,
J-Lo.
you're incredible. No one's like you
Yeah,
ever.
no, she's amazing.
But no, like for me, what's more important is that I'm able to create community and that we can connect.
Yes.
So that's what I'm hoping to get out of this. Me, I love to teach music, and I want to keep doing that, and I want to use music as a way to build community. So yeah, be part of the community.
Yes. Thank
That's
you
all.
so
Yeah,
much.
that's how you can support me. That's
Thank
it.
you so much. Yes. And you can also support him by tuning in on Friday, July 16th to
Yes.
watch his performance on BAM Fest stage. It's going to be incredible. Oh my gosh. I'm excited. And please stream Resilient Child on all streaming platforms. The information
Yes.
will be here for you. You have to support our local artists because they are what build this. You guys are what build culture. You guys keep the culture going. You build community. You give us inspiration. You give us hope. You uplift us. I know that's a whole lot of responsibilities to put on you, but you naturally do it. So we're very grateful for you. And thank you again for taking the time to chat with us and share your story and being vulnerable with us. And, we really appreciate all your truths. And
Yeah.
thank you for living in your greatness, Steve.
All right, y'all. Thank you for this amazing interview.
No problem. This
I
was
wanted to
great.
do this.
I
Thank you.
love it.
This is how I feel right now.
Fahrenheit TV.